So, last time we saw a few descriptions of Satyavan. One, of course, what we have in the present canto, the second canto of the Book of Love. Then we had a long description about Satyavan presented by Narad, all his attributes, all his qualities, and whatnot. And then, of course, we had the description as given by Vyasa himself in the original story of Savitri, the Mahabharata story of Savitri, he, this, etc., that kind of a thing. And just now we also heard from Arvind what the Supreme Himself sees in Satyavan. He is my soul, etc., etc., all that is. So we have, in fact, there are a few more descriptions of Satyavan in various respects presented in Savitri. Now, the question is, we are dealing with the Book of Love. In that context, which Satyavan is most acceptable? Will Savitri accept Satyavan as presented by Narad? Suppose Narad comes and here is the boy, like this, like this, like this. Then here is Vyasa, he says, here is Satyavan, like this, like this, like this. Here is the Supreme who tells, yes, this is Satyavan, this is Satyavan, this is. Will Savitri, the young princess, who has fully grown into maidenhood, who is bursting into the opulence of life, will she accept those Satyavans as her life's partner? If it is that. You see, for instance, Narad tells about Satyavan. He is a marvel of the meeting of earth and heaven. His figure a front of nature's march. Divinity and kingliness are on his brow. Eyes hold the memory of bliss. Gentle like a bud of spring. This is how Narad is describing Satyavan lyrically, very beautiful also. Pure like stream of spirit and sense. A living knot of golden paradise. That is Satyavan, a living knot of golden paradise. A blue immense joy. I don't know whether a true maiden would fall in love with such a Satyavan. She wants a life force. She would like to have life force as a young girl. All that, okay, it's all right. It may even sound in a certain sense kind of abstract in a certain sense. If not abstract, certainly too lofty, too spiritual, and perhaps a little remote from the force of life. And I don't know whether a girl would fall in love with such a person if he is presented to her with all these qualifications. What do you say? But I think the description of Satyavan, what we have here, noble and clear as a broad, peaceful heaven, A tablet of young wisdom was his brow. Freedom's imperious beauty curved his limb. The joy of life was on his open face. The joy of life was on his open face. His look was a wide daybreak of the gods. That's the morning. That's the glory of life and full of power and all that. His head was a youthful rishi's touched with light. But the most beautiful thing is, for a young girl, his body was a lover's and a king's. There is a majesty, there is a royalty, there is a power in him. And his body of a lover. And it is that which will really draw her towards him. In the magnificent dawning of his force, then she moves on, you see. That is the dawning of the force. Force, that is what she wants. So I think the poet as an artist, the poet also as a great reader of psychology of young souls, is very apt in presenting here the kind of a Satyavan with whom Savitri will immediately fall in love. The poetry and the life force are here coming together, merging into each other. It is not Naras Satyavan, it is not divine Satyavan, it is not Vyasa Satyavan. No, no, no. Okay, all right, they are very great. I want somebody here to do something here in life, you see. And that is exactly the beauty of what we have in Shivandu's Savitri, in this canto Satyavan is described. And as I said earlier, to a certain extent, this is the Satyavan who is not kind of painted in front of us. That the painter or the poet is seeing a figure here in front of him and making a sketch of him and giving a description of the Satyavan to us here. It is a Satyavan who in his trueness and who at the same time in his flesh and limbs and bones, in his physical body, is seen from somewhere else, from the eyes, from the vision, from the sight of a yogi poet. And it is that Satyavan which is going to be attractive to Savitri. So in that sense, there is a sort of an appropriateness of the description and the event which is going to take place shortly, you see. That is the beauty of Shivandu's epic Savitri. You see, the description follows certain context. It is the same Satyavan everywhere, but different facets, different angles, you see. So having said that, we can move further on. In the magnificent dawning of his force, built like a moving statue of delight, he illumined the border of the forest page. Last time I told you, moving statue, the oxymoron, the statue is normally fixed, but here is a statue which is moving. That is the solidity of Satyavan who is approaching her. At the same time, who is firm in his position, firm in the sense of a statue. Out of the ignorant, eager toil of the years, abandoning man's loud drama, he had come led by the wisdom of an adverse fate to meet the ancient mother in her groves. This also we saw last time, the adverse fate, how as a as an exiled prince. He came with his parents and he was living in the hermitages here. And all that thing is an act of fate. Although apparently this is an adverse fate, he has lost his kingdom, his father, the royalty, everything, and he is living now a life of a hermit, well, life of a recluse basically in the forest, and therefore it is an adverse fate in the immediate context. But in that adverse fate, there is a wisdom of things had to gather together and come to a point for something important, something significant, something which is designed with the fate to happen. Designed with the fate to happen. So that is the adverse fate's wisdom, things are happening here. One example, maybe not so very close or immediate. See, you take the history of India for the past 200, 300 years, when the colonial rule in India was getting established. There were Portuguese, there were Spanish, there were French, there were British who were trying to occupy different parts of the country in different places. And the north east was practically in the hands of the British. In the south, Madras was the British, but down below, Pondicherry and these regions were in the hands of the French. So that is the historical aspect of it. Now, when the fight was going on, the battles were being fought between the French and the British people in those days. At that time, the king of Mysore, Tipu Sultan, he sided with the French. And because of them, they are coming together, they could repel the British attack on Pondicherry. And Pondicherry did not become a British colony at that time. Now, that was an act of fate which was seen a couple of centuries ago, so that in the course of time, the mother comes here to Pondicherry. A place had to be here for her to come. Had to be here. That is the act of adverse fate. How in the long run of things happen and get fixed, so to say. There had to be a French station here, so to say, and it was retained. It was there for that purpose. She had to come here. She had to meet Shevandu. These things had to happen here. So that is an act of fate. That is the wisdom of fate in the long run of time. You see. Nobody would think that, well, this is the kind of a plan, but perhaps it is so somewhere else, you see. What do you say? And then, of course, Satyavan has grown as a foster child. He was brought up by nature and he learned all the beautiful things of life and nature directly from his contact with nature. Satyavan. He foster child, the beauty and solitude, and to the centuries, the lonely, wise, a brother of the sunshine and the sky, a wanderer communing with depth and mass. And of course, he is with the knower. Now, this communion with nature, we are really cut off from nature. We don't really learn things directly from nature, from the trees, from the plants, from the mountains, from the rivers, from the birds, from the beasts, from the animals. We are cut off from them, but there is so much of wisdom. Now, I will give you an example how even the highest knowledge could be attained by communion with nature. Spiritual knowledge, of course, but also the worldly knowledge, the duty knowledge. In Chandogya Upanishad, there is a story of a young aspirant going to the Rishi and praying him for spiritual knowledge. Please give me Brahmatjnana, spiritual knowledge, the knowledge of the eternal. He goes there, a young disciple, an aspirant. And the Rishi accepts him, but he tells him, look, you had to do something first. So, from a lot of his herd, he must be having thousands of cows, he picks up 400 lean and old cows. 400 lean and old cows from his lot. So you can imagine how big his dairy must have been, you see. And he takes this disciple, this young man, this aspirant, take these 400 cows, go to the forest, and when they become 1,000, then you will be fit to get Brahmatjnana, the knowledge of the eternal. And this boy, he drives the cows to the forest and dress them, lives with them for a number of years, maybe 10 years, 15 years. I don't know how long it will take for 400 cows to become 1,000 cows. So, he is doing that part of the job, so to say. And when the cows have become 1,000, he is now ready to go to his guru's place, to the Rishi. And on the way, different creatures come and give him this knowledge, this knowledge, this knowledge, this knowledge. Birds come, animals come, and they give him different types of knowledge already. And when he reaches the Rishi's place, he tells him, you already had knowledge now. You have learned whatever has to be learned. So it is by direct communion with nature that he has become the Veda knower. He knows the Vedas. He knows the eternal by direct communion with this one. That is the kind of knowledge Satyavan has already acquired. Satyavan was a young boy, maybe 5 years, 7 years, or 8 years, when he came to the forest and grew up in the forest from that early boyhood. Now he has become a young, handsome youth, maybe around 25 or whatever. It means that roughly for 20 years he was in communion with nature, and he becomes then the Vedan knower there already. He has the knowledge of the Brahman, of the eternal. Of course, he is also in the company of the rishis and the sages in the forest. But all this together, it is that which have made him the Veda knower. Or the unwritten book, obviously. The animals, the birds, mountains, they are telling him, they are giving the knowledge. They are an unwritten book. And he is acquiring that knowledge directly. And voices to the sun and star and flame. So he is able to hear them. Voices to the sun and the star and the flame, what they are telling. His sensitivity has become so sharp, you see, so beautiful. And chant the magic singles to the boughs. So the birds are singing, but then he hears something else behind their songs, you see. And the dumb teaching of four-footed thing, the animals, the beasts, they're teaching him, the cows, the buffalo, well, there are no buffalo, the cows, the horses, everybody is teaching him. Helping with confident steps, her slow, great hands, he lent the influence like a flower to rain. And like the flower and tree and natural growth, widened with the touches of her shaping hours. That is what is happening. The mastery, free natures had was his, and their ascent to joy and spacious calm. One, the single spirit inhabiting all. That is the knowledge. It is one spirit who is present in each and every creature. One spirit. The knowledge of oneself in all the selves. That is the knowledge he already has. One with the single spirit inhabiting all. He sees everywhere only that eternal, eternal, eternal in every spirit. He laid experience at the Godhead's feet. The one who is the giver of that experience, he is putting all that experience at his feet. His mind was open to her infinite mind, nature's infinite mind. He has opened himself to that mind. His acts were rhythmic with a primal force. So his movements and actions, they were in unison, in harmony with the movements of nature. He has subdued his mortal thought to hers. The day, now this is the description of Satyavan, and now the event starts happening. That day, he had turned from his accustomed paths. Normally, he would go to certain places by following certain paths for his daily works in the morning. But on that particular day, something else happened. Something else had to happen, and it is happening. For one who knowing every moment's load, that one unknown, unnamed by the poet, it is he who has cast the spell on his feet. The one who, knowing every moment's load, can move in all our studied or careless steps. We may not be aware of it, but it is that one who is really forcing us to go. No, today you have to go like this. He is not even aware, he is not even arguing with him. He is impelled, he is driven that way. Had laid the spell of destiny on his feet. So he was compelled by destiny to take a different path this morning. This morning, he is now taking a different path altogether because the destiny is now working. Destiny is strong. See, again, as I told you earlier also, destiny is fixed, but the human instrument is also necessary. Destiny cannot do without human action. Destiny is fixed. Satyavan has to go that way. But if there is something in Satyavan which would refuse to do that, then destiny becomes helpless. If he is not in accord with destiny, if there is some kind of a disharmony between him and destiny somewhere, then destiny becomes helpless. Human instrument is necessary for the fulfillment of destiny, and our greatness lies in becoming ready, becoming receptive without our mental knowledge of that. There has to be something in us, some kind of a perception in us. Yes, I must do this, I must do this, I must do this. That inner perception has to be there. It doesn't come out and shout at us, do this and do that. It drives you. So if that is there in a person, then he really becomes the true instrument of destiny to carry out the work of destiny. And that is what Satyavan is. And drawn him to the forest flowering words. At first, her glance that took life's million shapes impartially to people's treasure house along the sky and flowers and hill and star dwelt rather on the bright harmonious sea. Now this is the description of Savitri. He is describing Savitri is coming in her chariot, and what is her psychological state, what is she looking around, what is she occupied with, that is what we have here. At first, her glance, Savitri's glance, that took life's millions, she sees every kind of thing here, flowers, birds, animals, all those million things that there of life, and she is looking at them there. Impartially, so she is indifferent whether it is a bird or this one. So maybe one boy is also coming here, she is also kind of ignoring him, possible to ignore him also. Impartially to people, his treasure house, along with sky and flower and hill and star, dwelt rather on the bright harmonious scene. He saw the green gold slumberous sward. The grass is quivering with the slow winds that rage. The branches haunted by the wild birds that call. This is the description of both Savitri and nature around. It stands for Savitri's glance. Savitri's glance saw the green gold slumberous sward. All that green place, beautiful grasslands around here. The grass is quivering with the slow winds that rage. The wind is gentle and blowing across the green lands, you see. The grass is quivering with the slow winds that rage. Morning breeze. The branch is haunted by the wild birds that call. On the trees, the birds are there, and the birds are chirping, singing their own song there. This is what she is hearing all kinds of things there. She is seeing all kinds of things there. And in a certain sense, she is indifferent to the one who is coming in her view at the moment. See. Now, this line, he saw the green gold of the slumberous sward. We have 102.2, last line of the sentence. Over slumberous grasses sprang with green and gold. Here also we have got green, gold. Slumberous. Now, there is something very beautiful in the construction of these two lines, which are practically describing the same thing, but from a poetic angle, there is something very marvelous about these two lines. See, here he uses in 102.2, over slumberous, he uses slumberous. And in 100.20, he uses slumberous. uses slumberous. Now, that changes the rhythm, that changes the whole quality of poetry, the movement. Now, I have made a quick uh, collection of this word slumberous and slumberous in Savitri. Slumberous appears twice. B-R-U-O-U-S. B-R-O-U-S. Slumberous. 102.2 and 94.42. 94.42. Celestial human, deep, warm, slumberous fires. Slumberous fires. Yeah. In 102, 94.42. And here also 20, slumberous sword. Both of them are there. And slumberous appears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in Savitri. Slumberous. Actually, the conventional spelling is slumberous. Slumberous. But Shevandu is a master, he is a poet. And it is the demand of poetry, of rhythm, of movement, which he will accept and would not mind kind of making departures from the conventional spellings also. Slumberous, you see. That. Now, if you see these two lines, in fact, I will rather compare this line not the slumberous line. It can be also seen, but this is important. 102.2 over slumberous grasses pranked with grain and gold. Over slumberous grasses pranked with grain and gold. See, the movement is different. And here the grass is quivering with the slow winds that trade. The next line to that, after slumberous. The grass is quivering with the slow winds that trade. See, the quality of the inspiration is different. The poetry is different between the two. Over slumberous grasses pranked with green and gold as a kind of a soft rhythmic flow. Whereas the grass is quivering with the slow winds that trade. There is a sort of force in that, you see. Majesty there. That is the poet's art. What to use where. Now, this first line, over slumberous grasses pranked with grain and gold. 102.2. See, over slumberous grasses pranked with grain and gold. These are the 5 feet of the line. Over slumberous, second foot. Grasses, third foot. Pranked with, fourth foot. Grain and gold, fifth foot. What we see here is over slumberous means it is always starting with a stressed syllable and becoming shorter. Over slumberous grasses pranked with, see, means they're all falling feet. The rhythm is kind of falling, dipping down. And suddenly you have grain and gold, the critic, what is called in medical language, critic. Long, short, long. Grain and gold, that becomes one thing. C-R-A-T-I-C, critic. That is the foot we have got here. Over slumberous grasses pranked with grain and gold. See, it gives a kind of lift. The meter is falling, 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 and suddenly it jumps up to something different, you see. Whereas in the other line, the grasses quivering with the slow winds that trade. 102.2. See, you can see the sound difference between the two, I suppose. Here, the grasses is short, long. I am. Second is also I am quivering, Pirik. Means first is I am, Pirik, then an anapest and spondy. Last fourth is venstrate. Stress, accented accent, venstrate. So that gives a kind of force there. The grass is quivering with the slow venstrate. So that is the art of the poet. He changes the spellings, he changes this, he changes that, but then some other kind of a poetry. And it is that quality of sound which is what has to enter in us. Away to nature, vague as yet to life, the eager prisoner from the infinite, the immortal wrestler in his mortal house, his pride, power, passion of his striving God, it saw this image of veiled deity, this thinking master creature of the earth, this last result of the beauty of the stars, but only solid fair and common form. The artist spirit needs not for his work and puts aside the memory's shadowy rooms. Now, as I said, this is the glance of Savitri, that it stands for Savitri's glance. She is looking all around. She is driving her chariot and casting a glance all around. And she is awake to nature, still vague yet to life. She is a young girl. She doesn't know all the intricacies and details of life. Vague as yet to life, the eager prisoner from the infinite, eager. Obviously, Savitri's heart is eager. She has to find a lover. She has to find a partner, lover. And she is a prisoner from the infinite. She has come from the infinite. She has taken a mortal birth. The immortal wrestler in his mortal house, that is Savitri. She is the fighter, the immortal wrestler in his mortal house. She has taken the human form, human body. She is the wrestler. She has to fight out in life. She has to see all those things. His pride, power, passion of a striving God. It saw this image. It is that spirit of Savitri, that glance that it stands for. It saw. It means that glance saw. This image of veiled deity. This image of veiled deity. She is seeing the figure there, a person, a poet there. And she is seeing him as a veiled deity. Now this line, it saw this image of veiled deity. Deity is three syllables, huh? It's not two. D-I-E-T-Y, D-A-T, three. In fact, metrically, it saw this image of veiled deity. Means the fourth foot is a spondy. Veiled D. Last is E-T. It saw this image of veiled deity, this thinking master creature of the earth, this last result of the beauty of the stars. Yes, here is the fully grown man, brought out by nature. He is the master creature. Beauty of the stars. He is wearing the beauty of the stars. But only solid, fair, and common form that artist spirit needs not for its work. Yes, what the artist spirit sees. Artist does not see just a human being. He sees the person behind him, his character, his nature, all those things is what he sees, that artist needs not for its work, and puts aside in memory's shadowy room. So Savitri has kept aside all those things, and she is seeing now the spirit behind that person, behind that figure. In fact, this is the true art. You don't really paint a chair. You paint something which is there, the idea which is there behind the chair. It is that which must emerge from the art. The idea which is there forms the chair. It is that which must come out. You don't see an object, but you see what is there in that object, the character, the nature, the swabhava of that object. It is that which must come out in art. But our modern painting, the realistic art, well, I don't know. See, it does not bring out the soul and the character and the truth of it. See, you have to really bring out something. The colors should show what it is. See, in fact, the colors should be so vivid, as if they would be speaking to us, as if the colors are speaking to us. You see, there is no sound there, but they have their own language and words and vocabulary to communicate things to us. You see. A look, a turn decides our ill-poised fate. Now, this is the poet's commentary. These two young souls are coming closer to each other. Savitri is driving her chariot and coming to the spot. This young boy he has taken an unusual route this morning because the spell of destiny was there on his feet. They had come together, and therefore a look, a turn decides our ill-poised fate. Something may happen, may not happen, we don't know. I mean, she'll probably just look at it and pass on, drive her chariot on. Nothing may happen, you see. Thus, in the hour that most concerned her all, wandering unwarned with a slow surface mind, the heedless scout beneath her tempting lids admired indifferent beauty and cared not to wake her body's spirit to its king. The eyelids are there. Under those eyelids, the eyes are seeing things around here and there and all that kind of thing. Well, they admire beauty, what a lovely place and whatnot, and pass on, move on, because she has been seeing for months and months all these beautiful things. So maybe it is one of the spots here, and she would just pass on like that, you see. The heedless scout beneath her tenting lids. So this is the tenting lid. The eyes are seeing through this out. Admired indifferent beauty, so it becomes impersonal, nothing particular as such, distinct, and cared not to wake her body's spirit to its king. Now here, the important phrase is, body spirit to its king. That is the driving force. So might she have passed on by chance ignorant roads. Yes, should have gone away, driven us chariot, merrily, happily, driving it up, missing the call of heaven, losing life's aim. Everything would be lost. That small second or whatever it is that which is going to decide everything. Missing the call of it. See how tense the poet has made the whole situation. But the God touched in time her conscious soul. That is the destiny. The destiny had drawn her spell on the feet of Satyavan. Here, God is touching the soul of Savitri. Savitri, be alert. Here, the moment has come. Here, the moment has come. In fact, the whole sentence, thus in the hour that most concerned her or the purpose of her birth, of taking the special birth here, everything is now locked in this particular moment. Everything is locked, most concerned. If that slips off, gone. go on. But Savitri's God is not going to allow that to happen. But the God touched in time her conscious soul. Savitri, physically, outwardly, mentally, vitally, etc., she is not aware. Okay, there are all kinds of things around here. Maybe this is one of the places. But there is something in her soul which gets alerted and it immediately responds to the touch of this God. All can be done. The God touch is there. The God touch has come for Savitri. The God touch has come. But the God touched in time her conscious soul. Her soul is conscious right from the beginning, from her childhood. She has not done her yoga. The yoga is for the other aspects of her being, not for soul. It's already ready for Savitri. But the God touched in time her conscious soul, her vision settled, caught, and all was changed. Fixed her vision. So this is what happens. Her vision settled, caught, and all was changed. Obviously, everything, the whole destiny of this creation is locked in that particular moment. Everything is locked in that particular moment. All was changed. If it has changed, it has to happen now. It should not slip off. Now, this is, of course, in the ordinary way of seeing. Of course, we have not come yet to that point, but we will be coming shortly. Satyavan and Savitri, they look into each other's eyes for the first time, and they recognize each other's ancient identity that they have in together. They recognize the conscious soul of Savitri understands the entire past and comes out in a very luminous manner here now. In the common language of ours, you would say that this boy is coming, this girl is coming, they see each other and they have fallen in love. It would be love at first sight in that sense. Yes, in a certain sense, it is love at first sight in the human conditions. They are coming together without any awareness of other things. They are coming and then immediately falling into love with each other. It is love at first sight. There is no doubt at all. But in the case of Savitri, and of course Satyavan also, the ancient association gets renewed, and it is reawakening of that love in this human birth. So it is not really love at first sight also. Something else has got to happen. Her mind at first dwelt in ideal dreams. She is seeing nature, she is seeing all beautiful things around. Those intimate transmitter of earth's signs that make known things a hint of unseen spheres. So he is already giving the hint of unseen spheres. And saw in him the genius of the spot. Yes, he is the beautiful product of this place here, spot. A simple figure standing mid earth's scenes. A king of life outlined in delicate air. Something has opened in her and she sees him differently. Yet, this was but a moment's reverie. For suddenly her heart looked out at him. The passionate seeing used thought cannot match, and knew one nearer than its own close thing. Something else has happened. Moment's reverie has awakened. All in a moment was surprised and seized. What a description, how minute and how detailed and how careful. All in a moment was surprised and seized. She has been traveling, moving from place to place for 1 year practically, living in palaces, living in temples, villages, everywhere, forest, and this is the moment now, all in the moment was surprise and seized, all in inconscient ecstasy, laying wrapped. Until now, it was lying there wrapped, unknowing to everybody, or under imagination's colored lids. It was covered up, held up in a large mirror air of dream, broke forth in flame to recreate the world. So, what was locked in the inconscient ecstasy, that has burst out. What was locked in the inconscient ecstasy, that suddenly burst out. Yes, there is a joy there in the inconscience also, in the darkness, in the depth of night also, there is joy. But that has to be unlocked. And this moment has come, and the thing is done. Broke forth in flame to recreate the world. That is the power of that love which is awakened. Yes, it is that which will bring out a new world, a new creation. And in that flame, to new things, she was born. So all Savitri's past is over. All is over. Savitri's past is all over. And she has taken now a new birth. That is the power, that is the true power of love. That is what true love should do. It should bring out a new birth in us. A new world should be born in that. That is what should happen. And in their flame to new things she was born. And see this line, how beautiful again poetically. And in that flame to new things she was born. Absolutely monosyllabic line. And in that flame to new things she was born. Perfect. It brings a certain kind of emphasis on what is happening. It brings that emphasis. And that flame to new things was born. A mystic tumult from her depths arose. Now, this is the human condition, psychological. When the lovers meet, there is a kind of a tumult within us. It is that which is described. A mystic tumult from her depths arose, hailed, smitten, erect like one who dreamed at ease. Life ran to gaze from every gate of sense. Her joy is coming out from these eyes, from the smell, from the fragrance, from the ear, from here. Everywhere she's tasting new things, she's smelling new things, she's experiencing everything new. Life ran to gaze from every gate of sense. All the five senses are awakened to the new sense. Thoughts indistinct and glad in moon mist haven. Feelings as when a universe takes birth. Now, this is something remarkable. We don't know. When the lovers meet, whether they understand that a new birth is taking place. When a universe takes a birth, a universe takes a birth. It is that kind of feeling which is the reason. As if a new birth, a new creation is going to come out of that thing. Swept to the turmoil of her bosom's space, invaded by a swarm of golden gods, arising to a hymn of wondrous praise. Her soul flung wide its doors to its new sun. So the new sun has come in the sky. Her soul flung wide its doors to this new sun. Again, see, he brings that monosyllabic effect very powerfully at every point again. Her soul flung wide, the spondy brings forth its doors to this new sun. Two bodies that lay, see. And alchemy worked, the transmutation came. The mission phase had wrought the master's spell. The thing is done. So it has cast the spell. And alchemy worked. See, this is the love's alchemy. They are met together, and a new chemistry is getting worked out now. You see, and alchemy worked. New chemistry. See, yeah. Well, it is physiologically also true. You see, it's very true. It is real alchemy in that sense. And alchemy word, the transmutation came, that is the power of love. It brings about a change, transmutation. The mission phase had wrought the master's spell. Now, of course, this is the knowledge of the poet, that he is a mission phase. And it is that mission phase which has brought out this change. How the change has taken place in Savitri, how the change has taken place in Satyavan, they don't know, but the poet knows it. What has happened, the alchemy. In the nameless light of two approaching eyes, Savitri is there, and the two approaching eyes are coming Satyavans. In the nameless light of two approaching eyes, a swift and fated turning of her days appeared and stretched the gleam of unknown worlds. Unknown worlds are opening out immediately because of her. Then, trembling with a mystic shock, her heart moved in her breast and cried out like a bird who hears his mate upon a neighboring bough. What perfect poetry, beautiful images. It is her heart which is crying out immediately like a bird to a bird, you see. The spontaneity, the joy, the response which is so immediate and perfect. And what happened? Then trembling with a mystic shock, this is a mystic shock, Savitri is feeling that thing. She is driving her chariot, and suddenly the change has taken place in her. Moved in her breast and cried out like a bird who hears his mate upon a neighboring bough. Now, obviously, this alchemy, this trembling of her heart with a mystic shock appears to the Satyavan which is being presented here, not narrow Satyavan. That alchemy would not work with that. Then, trembling with a mystic shock, her heart moved in her breast and cried out like a bird who hears his mate upon a neighboring bough. See, it's kind of a alliteration in these lines is very beautiful. All these three lines, trembling with a mystic shock, trembling, breast, bird, neighboring, bough. That carries forward the sound effect very beautifully, you see. Whose trampling fast she was driving her chariot, the speed early in the morning. Wheels largely stumbling, she at once stopped. Largely stumbling, see, the chariot stood like an arrested wind. Suddenly she is holding the reins, and the chariot comes to standstill. She is a great charioteer also, you see. She is driving her own chariot, obviously, whose trampling fast, the horses, you see. Wheels largely stumbling, see, the chariot stood like an arrested wind. And Satyavan, now for the first time, he's speaking of Satyavan, see. Looked out from his soul's doors and felt the enchantment of a liquid voice, filled his youth's purple ambience, and endured the haunting miracle of a perfect face. Savitri's perfect face like a moon, and he is haunted by that, and he's stopping. And Satyavan looked out from his soul's doors again that is, and met and felt the enchantment of a liquid voice. Now he is saying he Savitri is driving the chariot. The chariot has come to stop, and he feels a voice speaking to him. Savitri has not uttered a single word, but he is hearing a voice, liquid voice, sweet, smooth, easy flowing, hearing that voice already here. They are not uttered at all any word to each other so far. Yeah. So she said, halt. But that is not liquid voice. It's not a liquid voice, you see. She didn't utter a word also. But here, the identity is so close of there. He felt, he doesn't say heard. The poet does not say he doesn't say heard. He says felt. That is the beauty of poetry. This is absolutely great, you see. He felt the enchantment of a liquid voice. He is already in a different mood, different alchemy is there, and he's already hearing a different voice. You see. They are not uttered a word at all so far, spoken to each other at all, and felt the enchantment of liquid voice. Filled his youth's purple ambience, his majesty, his glory, his power, his beauty, and endured a haunting miracle. He was able to stand that miracle of a perfect face.